Training your ears is an incredibly difficult skill to acquire, especially as an adult, and I get asked about it all the time in the comments and from students alike. And in this video, I wanted to share with you a story of how I trained my ears, and hopefully it will be of benefit to some of you if you're struggling with the idea of developing relative pitch or maybe even perfect pitch. So stick around, grab a drink, hit the like, subscribe button. You're going to learn a lot today. Let's get cracking. My ear training journey starts when I was 4 years old. I was really lucky to start that young because I've got a dad who plays guitar. And straight out of the gate, he was showing me my first chords, which were D, A, E, C, and G. Well, at first it was, I couldn't reach the low E with my middle finger at first, but I digress. But most importantly, he showed me the names of the strings, and rather than doing what most tuitional sources would do, and I understand why they do it, of course, instead of going first string and sixth string, he instead showed me the names of the strings with the letter or the open note. So it would be E string, A string, D, G, B, E again. Probably wrong to some of you, but that was a huge advantage for me, which I'll explain now. I would associate the open tone with the letter, the actual name of the note, which is what keys obviously are all made from, and what musicians and alike would discuss, and also when it comes to tunings, etc. Massively beneficial. And I started to immediately attach that idea to the fretboard. When it came to learning songs, and this is where Smoke on the Water changed everything for me, I knew that the first note of it was a G because it sounded like the open G string to me. So then going by the musical alphabet, you've got A, so your second fret. Then you've got the next letter in the alphabet would be B. But I thought, hang on, that doesn't sound like Smoke on the Water. It sounds like an open B string though, so immediately I'm attaching that fourth fret of the G string with the B note because it sounds like the open B. But then that sounds right in the middle, so that was what I'd settle for when I was figuring out Smoke on the Water. Then the next note in the alphabet is C, because it sounds like the C chord that I first learned. Next up you've got D, next letter in the alphabet, and it sounds like a D chord. Plus it sounds like the open D string. You can probably suss where my train of thought was going by this point. Then you get to E. Sounds like an open high E string. But also I discovered as well B. So I thought, in that little discovery there, I was discovering the polyphonic quality of the guitar. Next up you've got the note F. Obviously next letter in the alphabet, and a fun little story that came with the F note as well is I had a music teacher when I was in primary school, not one who formally taught me, he'd visit very occasionally, and he would teach people one-fingered sort of versions of things like Smells Like Teen Spirit, and rather than sing the song itself, he'd sing the name of the note. He'd go F, F, E flat, G sharp, C sharp, and it's stuck in my brain forever. Last but not least, 12th fret, G. So, and then after that, your neck begins again. And with that train of thought, that whole sort of journey of learning Smoke on the Water as a 5-year-old by ear helped me unlock everything on the fretboard. It helped me understand it. I didn't know the names of everything at the time. I didn't know the word octave or polyphonic or key or anything like that in association with the instrument. I understood far more than I could explain. Some of you in the comments now are probably saying, but you had the advantage of starting young. So how does it relate to me when I'm an adult? Well, let me tell you how it can relate to it. I think everybody can hear an A chord before they play it, or they associate it with a given song, like We Don't Get Fooled Again by The Who, for example. Then all you would do is, using that same mentality, find a place on the fretboard which is a note that you can recognize and fill in all the gaps around it. By learning this way, be it skill or not, it massively benefited me. It meant whenever I wanted to learn anything new, I didn't have to look for tablature or anything like that. I never had the patience for tablature anyway, and nor did I have the trust in it. I remember distinctly trying to learn the chords for Diary of a Madman many years ago out of a magazine, and I started to read them, and the sound of it just did not correspond with what I was listening to on the album, so I was better off listening to the album, and I got it way faster that way, thanks to learning things by ear and corresponding the sounds with where they were on the fretboard. And as you develop your skills in doing this, it presents so many advantages. It's not just about being able to copy what you hear. If you're jamming with some musicians and they ask you to improvise a solo, provided you've developed a little bit of vocabulary of scales and licks and things that you might have learned by ear, you can pluck out the solo that you can hear in your head and put it on the fretboard, and you can play instinctively. But even more so, if you want to write something, you might have the best riff in the world in your head, but some people don't have the inner ear, to use Steve Vai's expression, to put it on the fretboard, and they're stuck with it rolling around their head forever. By learning things by ear, you can pluck out the dream riff or solo from your brain and put it on the fretboard, and it will come out a speaker as if by magic. You don't need theory to do that. You just need to have developed an understanding of the notes and how they correspond to the fretboard. By studying maybe the way I've picked things up and the story of how I train my ears, hopefully it will help you guys develop a concept of relative pitch. Some people might ask me in the comments if I've got perfect pitch. I hate the term perfect pitch, but if you ever look at a definition of it, I pretty much fit the bill. I can hear all 12 notes and distinguish each of them like their colors, and I can recognize them instantly. That's not a brag, that's just something I guess I've developed from starting young, I suppose. One last thing before we wrap up the video. I actually discovered Van Halen tuned down half a step by accident, thanks to having trained my ears when I was really young once again. I was about 12 when I started to learn Van Halen. And I ended up first hearing Van Halen when I was with my dad in the car. We had, at the time, it was a Mondeo with an old, slightly broken tape deck. And the first track I heard was Ain't Talking About Love, and it came out and it sounded like this. It sounded like it was in standard tuning, so although I couldn't play it at the time, I could hear what Eddie was doing and thought it was in standard tuning. So when it became time to learn it, I was learning it in standard tuning. Then I thought, all right, I need to go and pick something else up from it because I haven't quite got it all. I put on the original and then discovered it was half a step down. So I thought, hang on a minute. It sounds like, rather than going, it sounds more like being the first few notes. I thought, so all of the open notes are tuned down the equivalent of 1 fret, because I didn't know the term half a step at the time. So I detuned my guitar and started to learn Van Halen, and before I knew it, I was unlocking the world of Black Sabbath, Van Halen, and you name it, anything else that was tuned down half a step at that point. So again, another benefit of training your ears. Thank you very much for watching this video, you guys. I really appreciate your patience if you've made it this far, because it's not really been a playing orientated video. If you guys have got your own ear training stories and how learning the guitar by ear has benefited you and how you did it, write it in the comments below, because if other people still have questions about it or maybe want to know more about it, I think people could benefit from hearing what you guys might have done to boost your understanding of the guitar as time's gone on. Thanks so much, take care, I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.